Muy buenos días y buenas tardes a todos que nos acompañan hoy. Estamos en el episodio 2 de la temporada 2 de nuestra iniciativa Impulso para la Internacionalización de la Educación en las Américas. Nuestra temporada 2 es de la estrategia a la acción. Y en el episodio 2 vamos a hablar de un tema bien interesante y es el rol de los gobiernos en las estrategias de reclutamiento de los países, las regiones, las ciudades y las instituciones en América Latina y el mundo. Y para este panel, el día de hoy, tenemos dos excelentes ponentes. Tenemos por una parte a Mauro Guevara, de Study Buenos Aires, en Argentina. Bienvenido, Mauro. Y tenemos a Mike Henniger, que es de ILUM, Student Advisory Services de Canadá. Welcome, Mike. Es un episodio especial porque vamos a estar en inglés y en español. Mauro nos va a hablar en español, con Mike vamos a hacer preguntas en inglés. Esperamos también pues, que quienes necesiten también el episodio va a contar con subtítulos y esto va a ser un episodio maravilloso. Sin duda, en el mundo del reclutamiento de estudiantes internacionales, no es solamente una responsabilidad de las universidades o de las instituciones educativas. Hay un ecosistema muchísimo más grande donde los gobiernos sin duda tienen un rol muy importante. Y eso es lo que le vamos a invitar a Mike y a Mauro que nos compartan un poco hoy. So Mike and Mauro, I want you guys first to introduce yourselves, share with us about your background. Mauro, también un poco invitarte a compartir sobre tu perfil, que todos los que nos escuchan hoy puedan conocer un poco más de ustedes. Podemos empezar con Mike. Mike, we can start with you, if that's okay.
Thank you so much, Marcela. It's a real pleasure to be here. First of all, I think I should apologize to everyone that my part's in English. You don't want to hear me present in Spanish. I'll tell you that. It's just not there, but I am excited to be here. My name is Mike Henniger. I'm President and Chief Operating Officer of ILUM Student Advisory Services based in Vancouver, Canada. At ILUM, we work with 30 plus universities and colleges around the world to help them recruit international students to their campuses. I have offices in India, Africa, throughout Asia, Latin America, and with 60 staff, we bring people in. We work with agent networks, we work with students and their families to help them make the decision, which is such an important decision on where is best to study for them. So I've never done anything else in my career. I've only done international education. I've always been in international student recruitment. I worked at a public university in Canada, Thompson Rivers University, for 5 years. I was the vice president of ISEF for 4 years, where we worked a lot with global student mobility. So it's a very exciting topic for me today to talk about how destinations can make themselves more attractive and provide better services to international students. So thanks for allowing me to be here. I look forward to today's session.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you. And Mauro, cuéntanos de ti.
No, gracias Marcela, un gusto Mike también estar hoy aquí con ustedes, un saludo a todos y a todas que están escuchando. Yo estudié ciencia política en la Universidad de Buenos Aires hace ya varios años, hice mi maestría en procesos de integración regional también en la Universidad de Buenos Aires y desde el 2015 comencé a trabajar en el gobierno de la ciudad de Buenos Aires en un programa que se llamaba Jóvenes Profesionales. A raíz de esa experiencia terminé trabajando en la Secretaría de Turismo del Gobierno de la Ciudad de Buenos Aires y en el 2016 se me encargó realizar un programa que tenga que ver con el turismo educativo, con lo que se llama el turismo educativo, dentro del universo de turismo joven, que era hacer de Buenos Aires una ciudad para atraer justamente gente joven de entre 18 y 35 años, siendo los estudiantes internacionales parte importante de esa estrategia. Ahí comenzó Study Buenos Aires de manera incipiente, porque comenzamos a identificar las necesidades que nuestras universidades tenían sobre todo en lo que tiene que ver con acompañar a ese estudiante internacional que llega a la ciudad de Buenos Aires o a cualquier, digamos, ciudad, y que se encuentra con una ciudad desconocida, se encuentra con un desafío adaptativo de conocer las dimensiones de la ciudad, de conocer cómo moverse en la ciudad, costo de vida, dónde alquilar, dónde vivir, y sobre todo con el desafío de relacionarse con otros estudiantes. Entonces comenzamos a transitar el derrotero de Study Buenos Aires con una política cercana a ese estudiante internacional, mejorándole la experiencia, para después ir posicionándonos también como un aparato dentro del Estado que atraiga estudiantes internacionales. Nuestro activo más importante fue encontrar una necesidad dentro de las universidades, una necesidad de acompañar a este estudiante internacional, y esa necesidad permitió que las universidades empezaran a confiar en el programa y a llevar al jefe de gobierno porteño a una mesa con los 20 rectores y rectoras que originalmente acompañaron el programa, para que en 2017 se firme un convenio entre estas 20 principales universidades y el gobierno de la ciudad, dando como creación al programa Study Buenos Aires, que desde sus comienzos en la Secretaría de Turismo hasta ahora han sufrido muchísimos cambios positivos, muchísimo crecimiento, muchísima transformación, porque si bien comenzamos siendo una política netamente turística, hoy nos posicionamos como parte de la estrategia de proyección internacional que tiene la ciudad, y esto es cómo se concibe o cómo buscamos mostrar a la ciudad de Buenos Aires en el mundo. Y esto es mostrarla como una ciudad educadora, como una ciudad atractora de talento. Y esto se debe al trabajo que desde el 2016 comenzamos en la Secretaría de Turismo hasta ahora, con una pandemia en el medio. Pero un poco ese es, digamos, el recorrido de dónde vengo y un poco qué se hizo con Study Buenos Aires.
Gracias, Mauro. Te me adelantaste un poco con la primera pregunta que te iba a hacer sobre el origen de Study Buenos Aires, pero nos queda muy claro que inició como una política desde la Secretaría de Turismo y hoy es una política de ciudad. Es bien interesante. Mike, this is very interesting to have both of you with such great and wide experience. In your case, in international education, Mauro comes also from the tourism sector and now education tourism as well. And Mauro was sharing with us a bit of his background, but also how Study Buenos Aires began as a policy of tourism and then became a DMO and now is part of the city's strategy. I would like to ask you, Mike, if you can share with us, what is the added value that a DMO, Destination Market Organization, offers to a country, a region, or a city in the case of Buenos Aires?
Yeah, it's a good question, Marcella, with tourism and education. They're so closely linked. And first of all, I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia, and we hosted the Olympic Games in 2010. And Vancouver and British Columbia was, in front of the whole world for 2 weeks when we had the Olympics here. And we saw how much that impacted international student recruitment. Our brand became very strong from that, and that's that connection. When we talk about why is a DMO important, it comes down to a very simple concept, and that's competition. International student recruitment has never been as fiercely competitive as it is now. I mean, I've told you in my introduction that I've never done anything else in my career. And I remember, attending very large fairs in 2008, for example, the IEFT fair in Istanbul, Turkey, which is one of the largest student recruitment events that there is. And you'd go to those events, and at that point in time, there was a huge pavilion of UK schools, there was a huge pavilion of Australian schools and US schools, and then there was other markets there. But if you go to that same event today, and from our connections with ISEF, Marcella, China's recruiting, Japan's recruiting, Korea's recruiting, Latvia's recruiting, Poland's recruiting. You know, I've done work with Jamaica to attract international students into Jamaica. I mean, everyone is competing for these international students. And I think every advantage that we get, when I speak to universities and colleges, especially as they're starting their internationalization journey, they're not a really established program for international students, they say a lot of the same things. They don't have the resources, they don't have the expertise, they don't have the data and market intelligence they need to be able to go out and do this successfully. So when you have a DMO working on behalf of your destination, your country, your province, your city, they have the ability to provide a lot of these things that an individual university or college is not able to do on their own. And that is, again, putting together high-level marketing resources, branding the destination, looking and helping to just get the word out about what that destination's about. So the competition, I mean, even coming out of COVID for Canadian institutions, where I'm based, is, I mean, I've never seen scholarships being given like I see them being given now. Every university is giving away scholarships like candy to attract international students. So people are getting much, much more aggressive in how they're going after these students. And having a well-positioned DMO supporting the institutions in a region just gives an advantage. I mean, we've seen in one of the big announcements coming from Australia in the past few weeks is, I believe it was a $40 million investment by Australia to bring international students back into the country. Those are the things that we're competing with. And I think to try and go it on your own and build a brand of a university or build a brand of a region, it's a very difficult battle. Working together as a consortium with a destination marketing organization provides a huge amount of advantage to be able to get the brand out there and the word out there in a more effective way.
Thanks, Mike. It's amazing. I mean, Latin America has to be aware that the competition is strong. It's happening worldwide, and Latin America has been a student provider for the world. And I think that, one of the things that we want to do is make sure that we balance mobility, and that it's not just so much outgoing alone, but we also have incoming. And bueno, aquí tenemos el ejemplo de Study Buenos Aires, en esa iniciativa de dar ese equilibrio, de que no seamos solamente una región que tiene muchísimos estudiantes que salen, sino que tengamos también muchísimos estudiantes que también vengan a la región. Mauro, cuéntanos un poco cuáles son los principales lineamientos y objetivos de la estrategia de Study Buenos Aires actualmente.
Justamente quisiera como mencionar, citando lo que Mike estaba mencionando acerca del tema de las becas, nosotros tenemos dos grandes objetivos dependiendo del tipo de mercado al cual estemos hablando, ¿no? Buenos Aires es, hogar o destino de muchos estudiantes de América Latina. El 80% de los estudiantes internacionales que vienen a Buenos Aires vienen de América Latina. Para América Latina nosotros justamente tenemos una estrategia basada en las becas y sobre todo para atraer estudiantes de posgrado, que son los estudiantes a los cuales más apuntamos hoy por hoy. Entonces, junto a las universidades armamos un programa de becas que se llama Becas Study Buenos Aires, que aprovecho para mencionar que está abierta la convocatoria para el próximo año hasta el 7 de noviembre. En donde las universidades donan lo que son los aranceles de programas de especialización, maestría y doctorado que quieran promover. Nosotros montamos la convocatoria, nosotros hacemos como parte de todo un gran paquete que promovemos por redes sociales y a través de nuestra página web, a través de nuestras embajadas y a través también de universidades extranjeras de América Latina con las cuales tengamos contacto y redes de universidades. Es una estrategia muy interesante porque les da a las universidades un poco el termómetro de qué programas son los que están buscando los estudiantes. Y a nosotros nos da justamente el termómetro de qué países más nos están mirando para estudiar, indicándonos también nuevas oportunidades que se puedan dar. Por ejemplo, en la primera convocatoria tuvimos una gran cantidad de estudiantes de República Dominicana aplicando a la beca Study Buenos Aires, lo cual nos sorprendió porque nosotros no teníamos a Centroamérica quizás tan en el radar, y nos mostró que hay un gran universo de estudiantes centroamericanos y centroamericanas que potencialmente podrían venir a Buenos Aires, lo cual nos hizo, como decimos, parar las antenas y empezar a mirar también hacia esas regiones. Quizás los destinos a los cuales más acostumbrados estamos a recibir estudiantes de posgrado son Ecuador, Colombia, Perú, y no tanto la región centroamericana. Entonces eso como que lo destaco, y destaco también a las becas Study Buenos Aires como una de las principales herramientas de atracción, sobre todo en mercados consolidados. Después tenemos otro tipo de herramienta, vinculación institucional, para lo que nosotros llamamos la diversificación de la procedencia del estudiante internacional. Y ahí tenemos que hacer, y acompañamos a las universidades a relacionarse con universidades de otros países y de otros destinos. Por ejemplo, China es un claro ejemplo, en donde China, por la idiosincrasia china y por la, digamos, forma de ser de China, los intentos aislados de las universidades nuestras en vincularse con universidades chinas son difíciles porque muchas veces están midiéndolas en función del prestigio que tienen, en función de la cantidad de estudiantes que tienen, en función de la currícula que tienen, y eso dificulta y traba quizás la vinculación para universidades que están menos internacionalizadas. Lo que nosotros proponemos o propusimos fue armar una jornada de vinculación universitaria. Esto es que bajo la figura y la representación de Study Buenos Aires, convocar a nuestras universidades interesadas en vincularse con universidades de ese país, en este caso China, para armar una agenda y que suceda en un día una serie de reuniones prepautadas con universidades que compartan, ya sea o un interés orgánico en cooperar, o áreas de conocimiento similares, o intereses específicos en la cooperación, ya sea intercambio de docentes, intercambio de estudiantes, acuerdos de doble titularidad, o armar seminarios en conjunto. Entonces, esto nos ha permitido a nosotros montar como distintas estructuras y montar distintas formas de vehiculizar la relación y la vinculación universitaria de una manera mucho más sistematizada y de una manera mucho más veloz, porque no son las universidades yendo a relacionarse con una o dos o tres universidades, sino que es un conjunto de universidades yendo a relacionarse con otro conjunto de universidades a partir de un trabajo previo que realizamos nosotros de macheo y compatibilización entre las universidades. Lo que podemos decir como resultados que hemos obtenido desde octubre del 2020, que comenzamos a hacer las jornadas de vinculación, hemos realizado jornadas de vinculación con 7 destinos distintos, con China, con Brasil, con Estados Unidos, con España, con Francia, y ahora tenemos algunos pendientes con Chile, con Perú y con México, en donde se han realizado más de 400 reuniones en simultáneo, y de esas más de 400 reuniones en simultáneo han participado casi 150 universidades, y lo que podemos obtener como output es que se han firmado al menos 37 memos de entendimiento entre esas universidades a raíz del trabajo de vinculación que realizamos. Entonces, esta es una herramienta importante para justamente acercar a nuestro sistema universitario, que está quizás tan concentrado en América Latina, con nuevos destinos, explorar nuevas oportunidades, como por ejemplo puede ser Europa del Este, ¿no? Donde nosotros no estamos tan vinculados, pero que a la vez es un potencial recurso para obtener estudiantes por todo el financiamiento que hay alrededor de la Unión Europea, programas de Erasmus y demás, que con esta herramienta y que con este acercamiento y que con el trabajo, digamos, más integral que nosotros les podamos dar a nuestras universidades, justamente trazar esos puentes que redunden en que vengan más estudiantes. Sabemos que la firma del memo es quizás el primer paso y que después hay que darle contexto, seguimiento, pero es un primer paso importante para que empecemos a mirar otros destinos.
Y Mauro, ¿ya han podido ver el incremento de estudiantes de esos países con los que han, digamos, desarrollado estas nuevas relaciones?
Bueno, estamos justamente en eso porque en la Argentina se abrieron las fronteras después de la pandemia en noviembre del 2021. Entonces, todo este trabajo institucional es el trabajo, digamos, base y pilar para después justamente darle, ¿no?, otra impronta, o sea, el paso 2 que vendría a ser justamente la promoción quizás más digital, la promoción a través de agencias, la promoción a través de las universidades. Entonces, lo que nosotros acá hacemos es, creamos el ecosistema para que pueda comenzar a incrementarse el flujo, o por lo menos para que se empiece a tener al destino como un destino potencial para estudiantes internacionales.
Maravilloso, Mauro, muchas gracias. Muy interesante todo lo que están desarrollando. Mike, it's very interesting what Mauro just shared. He precisely mentioned that Study Buenos Aires indeed has a very strong strategy of offering scholarships. And he mentioned that 80% of their international students come from the region. So they continue strengthening their strategy within the region. Yet they're also leveraging, let's say, the process of motivating, of getting students from other countries worldwide. He mentioned, for example, China, different cultures, not so close in terms of academic collaboration. So they also have a strategy to facilitate let's say, universities from Argentina having B2B meetings with a group of universities in different countries to develop collaboration, and that way have a midterm result of more students coming worldwide. I would like, Mike, for you to share with us examples of DMOs worldwide, and what effective initiatives have you seen or learned about that have really made an impact in increasing international students in that destination?
Yeah, thanks for that. And well, I'll start by just taking my hat off to the work that Study Buenos Aires is doing. I've referred to them in reports that I've done in the past. And I think one of the things that I see Study Buenos Aires doing a very good job of student support. And your best ambassador and your best sales tool are the students that come to you and what they tell their family and friends. And I've seen things that Study Buenos Aires have done about supporting students upon arrival, making sure that they have the information of how they need to get to where they're going, getting SIM cards for their phones. Aires has done a very good job of providing student services. When I look at some of the other ones that I've seen, a few stand out to me, and obviously there's a lot of large ones. I think New Zealand and New Zealand have done a very good job of branding. They've put forward a brand focusing off of the new in New Zealand, a new place to study, a new path to follow. They have regular brand guideline training and regular updates to materials for their institutions to use. So I like what New Zealand's done in terms of developing a really comprehensive brand and getting everyone on board. And when you go to a conference like an ISEF or a NAFSA or an EAIE, you see that brand of Think New Zealand very prominently placed. So I think they've done a great example. Study Gold Coast in Australia is another example that I like to use. We know now more than ever. I often make the joke when I went to study my undergrad, I studied literature. I have a bachelor's degree of arts and literature. And the reason I studied literature was because I like to read books. So I thought, oh, this would be a great thing. And I graduated from my university with a Bachelor of Literature, and I started to think about what am I going to do for a job? And I'm like, didn't think that far ahead when I chose my major. Young people now are so much more focused on labor outcomes, return on investment. Study Gold Coast has done a very good job of connecting labor market needs to international student recruitment. So they align through the funnel. When they attract students, they're attracting them into programs that are connected to local labor market. These students are able to access apps which have job boards, mentorship, support through this. So I see also connection to labor market and connection to be able to get experience in local companies is something very important that some destination marketing organizations do a very good job of. we started by talking a little bit about the lack of resources and also the connection to tourism industry. And I just think this is such a strong advantage for Latin America. Marcela, I'm traveling to Latin America on Monday. I'll be going to Brazil, to Colombia, and to Mexico. I'm a seasoned traveler. I've traveled to and worked in over 70 countries around the world. I'm immensely excited to come to these countries because they're awesome. I mean, coming to Colombia and spending time in Medellin and Bogota and these places, it's a real attractive destination. And I think people want to go and study and live in amazing places. And Latin America has amazing places everywhere. And so we see destination marketing organizations in Costa del Sol in Spain. They work very closely with the tourism department there to create marketing materials that really showcase the natural beauty and the lifestyle of the area. One of the things that I've been speaking about for years is that how boring most education marketing is and how it always looks the same. Best example of that is an MBA advertisement for any university in the world. It's the same picture. It's three very professionally dressed people sitting in a boardroom looking at an iPad and, change your life, our MBA. It's all of the same. And with Costa del Sol and with some destination marketing, being able to tap into those resources that show natural beauty, show the lifestyle, show the food, show the culture, I think that is something that can really stand out for what a DMO can provide, is really showcasing what life will be like in that destination. And to be honest with you, it's very difficult for a university to be able to dig that deep into their marketing. So those are some things. The other one here in Canada, like we see Edunova and BCCIE, we have some DMOs here that work provincially. They've done a good job to connect, especially Edunova, to immigration, people who want to come and live in Canada. And Edunova has the Study and Stay program where they're really looking to retain people in Eastern Canada, in Nova Scotia. So from the very beginning, when they recruit these students in, they're tying them into the local community and providing ways for them to become members of that community and live their whole life in Nova Scotia. So those are some examples that I think is what I said is the marketing, the student services, labor market connections, immigration, shared resources. Those are some of the things that I see DMOs around the world doing well and adding a lot of value to their constituents and to their group.
Thank you, Mike. All of this is very interesting. I mean, I think it's necessary also to put all of these initiatives and, let's say, main guidelines, what you mentioned, student support, labor market, migration, tourism, within the globalization that we're living nowadays. The younger the person is, the greater the need also to have a very competitive global CV skills as well. And it doesn't mean that because you were born somewhere or you studied in another place, you have to stay in that same place all the time. And it's wonderful to be able to experience new learning experience, new faculty, the nature and everything. So this is really, really amazing. I would like now to go to the ecosystem as such. And Mauro, vamos a pasarnos un poco a hablar del ecosistema. ¿Quiénes son esos principales stakeholders que hacen parte de los aliados localmente en Buenos Aires? No creería solamente que son las instituciones, hay algunos más quienes están sumando todos los días para hacer realidad esas estrategias que ustedes están construyendo y acompañando a los estudiantes que llegan durante el año a su ciudad.
Bueno, nuestros principales aliados en esto son las universidades. Muchas de ellas, digamos, han sido la punta de lanza para lo que es la promoción, ¿no?, del destino como para estudiar sobre todo teniendo en cuenta el prestigio, la calidad académica que detentan y su vocación por firmar justamente convenios y ampliar su red de contactos, ¿no? Lo que sucedió, digamos, la internacionalización antes de ser quizás un tema que también tocara a la ciudad, era un tema que tocaba sobre todo a las universidades y fueron ellas quienes comenzaron con todo este trabajo. Desde ya que hay muchos más actores que van a depender también del tipo de mercado, ¿no? O sea, hay escuelas de idiomas para atraer estudiantes por lo menos de Brasil, de Estados Unidos, también Study Abroad Providers, lo que tiene que ver sobre todo con la atracción hacia Estados Unidos. Y después, bueno, o sea, empresas que tengan que ver con el mundo del turismo joven, también, ¿no? Haciendo parte de la experiencia de estudiar, la experiencia de conocer y visitar el destino en su totalidad. Lo que sucede también en la Argentina es que quizás no haya una gimnasia tan marcada en lo que tiene que ver con el trabajo con agencias. Eso es una deuda, digamos, que tenemos, es una de las cosas que tenemos que trabajar. Entender, quizás ayudar nosotros a que las agencias entiendan a las universidades, acercar quizás programas que puedan ser interesantes para que las agencias promuevan, en definitiva, pero como parte del ecosistema eso sería, digamos, salvo algunas excepciones, uno de los temas que faltan. Y también destacar el trabajo de residencias estudiantiles y demás hosts que permiten, ¿no?, recibir a estos estudiantes internacionales. Pero básicamente, por lo menos en lo que atañe a Study Buenos Aires y también por el desarrollo institucional propio de nuestro sistema educativo, yo diría que son las universidades.
Gracias, Mauro. Y so, Mike, Mauro shares about the important role of the universities. Of course, there's also student residencies and other stakeholders. Can you share with us a bit about what other stakeholders are important in an ecosystem where a DMO exists, and what kind of incentives do you know that may exist within that ecosystem? I mean, why are the stakeholders interested in actively engaging in the strategy of promoting the destination and the education system?
Well, this is the difficult one. I really think this is the hard part. We can say, yes, we want a DMO. Yes, we know international students are great, but this is the hard part of being able to facilitate this. And I think one is to have clearly established goals of what the DMO will be looking to accomplish and have those clearly articulated. So, there are a lot of stakeholders. There can be public and private institutions. There could be the tourism board. It can be, all of these different things. But if you know that the goal is to increase international students by X amount of percent, generating X amount of revenue, and so on and so forth, I think it becomes clearer. It's also, I think, having some soft targets around external stakeholder trainings. Obviously, the education agent channel is very, very important in international student recruitment, and being able to bring agents into the market and visit the destination, fam trips as they're called, are very, very important. But one of the things, a simple thing about engaging stakeholders that I've seen to be most easily effective is getting local brands such as hotels, tourist destinations, restaurants, those type of things. So, for example, every student that arrives will get, a card that gives 10% off at following 10 restaurants who are supporting the DMO's things. This builds the restaurants brands. It gives a value add to the students because they're getting a discount. So really looking at those relationships with local partners, organizing, I think tourist activities for students can make their life so much more exciting and fun, and working with local tourism providers, adventure, ecotourism, those type of things. So first of all, clearly outlining the goals of what you're trying to accomplish and making sure that's clearly articulated on the website, in communication, in training, but then also getting smaller businesses involved and seeing their value in the community. And like I said, I love the idea of a international student pass card that gets them discounts at different types of activities at different types of restaurants. Because when you have the community on board with international students, you can really increase your reach and increase your chances of success. It goes beyond just the stakeholders of the institutions, which are very, very important, but also getting community, local politicians all on board with these type of things. So I think those type of engagements are important.
Se complementa muy bien con lo que mencionó Mauro de el apoyo a los estudiantes. Y yo creo que, digamos, una estrategia de DMO a nivel país, región, incluso de ciudad, como tiene tantos stakeholders, debe haber un reto en temas de articulación. Mauro, cuéntanos un poco cuáles son esas instancias de articulación para que todos estén teniendo claro cuáles son esos resultados, qué cosas hay que mejorar, dónde hay oportunidades para vincular quizás nuevas empresas, un nuevo sector, etcétera. Cuéntanos un poco de eso.
Digamos, siguiendo con el relato institucional y el desarrollo institucional, las universidades en Argentina son autónomas. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que ellas tienen su propio plan institucional y no hay, digamos, una obligación de parte de la universidad de acatar, ¿no? Otros planes institucionales o acatar algún tipo, digamos, de orden, ya sea de menos de un gobierno local y ni siquiera de un gobierno nacional. Entonces, si bien esto es así, esto también nos marca justamente que no todas las propuestas que uno hace llega al total de las universidades. Y eso está perfecto porque cada universidad justamente tiene su propio plan de desarrollo institucional, su plan de vinculación internacional, etc. Por ejemplo, cuando hablamos de las becas Study Buenos Aires, tenemos 17 universidades que participan de esta última edición. Sobre 30 instituciones en total. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que hay otras universidades que no formaron parte del programa, pero que capaz participaron de una jornada de vinculación con China, por ejemplo, o con Estados Unidos o con España, dependiendo un poco del interés. Yo creo que la clave acá está en justamente proponer a las universidades acciones, ¿no? Tomar la iniciativa con este tipo de actividades y de propuestas colaborativas, escuchar a las universidades, escuchar a las instituciones, para que uno también sepa de la riqueza y la diversidad que de alguna forma representa y poder estar atento a las distintas oportunidades que se le puedan dar para cada institución en particular, ¿no? Yo creo que la clave del éxito está justamente en la escucha y en el entender que uno representa un sistema muy diverso de universidades públicas, universidades privadas, universidades muy grandes, universidades muy pequeñas, en donde quizás lo que se le propone a una no le sirva a la otra y viceversa. Entonces, partiendo desde esa, digamos, autopercepción, ¿no? Partiendo desde ese punto de partida, yo creo que se pueden construir un montón de cosas alrededor. La idea siempre es proponer, la idea siempre es ofrecer, pero sobre todo también escuchar. Así es como se construyen políticas públicas colaborativas entre instituciones que muchas veces son muy diversas, ¿no? Y en los desafíos, y hay muchísimos desafíos de cosas que tampoco directamente manejamos nosotros. Hay desafíos en materia de política migratoria, desafíos para simplificar los trámites para los estudiantes, desafíos para reducir los costos de los aéreos, desafíos también para acompañar a las universidades en un desarrollo quizás de una oferta que no solamente sea en español, sino que también sea en inglés, para atraer otro tipo de mercados. Yo creo que nuestro rol ahí es justamente desafío con las prácticas profesionalizantes, ¿no? O sea, las famosas internships, que a veces nos es difícil a nosotros como incentivar para que sucedan. Entonces, yo creo que ahí nuestro rol es estar siempre actualizado en materia de lo que el mercado de la educación internacional está demandando y estar justamente compartiendo con las universidades esta información, escuchando a ver cuáles son las limitaciones, digamos, que se tienen desde esas propias instituciones y estar justamente dispuesto también a revisar sus propios procesos para acercar propuestas que sirvan, ¿no? Es una construcción muy colaborativa, compleja, pero que requiere de todas estas pequeñas partes.
Maravilloso, Mauro. Sin duda es un proceso participativo, que es incluyente y que debe ofrecer, como tú dices, oportunidades para todos, que no se limite solamente a un tipo de acciones o de estrategias, sino que sea muy incluyente. Mike, this is fabulous. I really enjoy listening to Mauro's, what he's sharing about articulation with a perspective of a participative process where they don't only, as Study Buenos Aires, suggest, provide, and invite to different strategies, activities, or events, but also are open to listen to all the different institutions, acknowledging the diversity that exists amongst education institutions, where maybe some will be very interested in some spaces or strategies, others maybe not so much, but maybe would like other type of events. So all this articulation of a very participative process is really interesting. And I don't know if you like to comment of what other articulation spaces are needed between DMOs within the different sectors that participate in a city or countrywide strategy.
Yeah, I think it comes also to different governance structures of how DMOs are put together and how they listen to their stakeholders. And as I was listening to Mauro talk, I probably totally misunderstood it, but I heard him talking about big universities and small universities, and they have very different goals and also different, a really large, well-branded university, many international partners are going to try to meet with them anyways, but a smaller, unknown regional university is going to have much more difficulty. So what I find is often a difficulty that DMO gets is how do they show success for the different stakeholders? So how does that small university feel supported? And I think, comes down to one real simple thing. I was an elementary school teacher early in my career, and one of the things that we learned with teaching small children, it is better to have small children make their own class rules than have the teacher make the class rules. So you ask the children, can we yell at our friends? And the students say, no, we can't yell at our friends. So you write, no yelling at your friends. Then when a student yells at their friend, you say, but this is your rule. The class made this rule. And it's teaching children the ownership of what they're doing. And sorry, I do have a point here. I'm coming back to education, is getting people involved at the very beginning of the process in the articulation of the goals. What do you expect out of this relationship from us? What are you looking to do in supporting this? And this goes into the DMO charter. And just like the small children taking accountability of the rules that they've made, when we set our goals and the processes that we're going to do with the stakeholders, involving them in that very process from the beginning is so important, because we're doing what you asked us to do. We're doing the things that you want us to do. And so also having a wide variety of activities, I think internal stakeholder engagement, local community engagement, agent engagement, organizing missions to other countries, all of these things are the basis of what we do, but saying, what do you want from us in terms of a partnership? And having that, as I said, clearly articulated from the very beginning, and having the input from the stakeholders. And it's just, like I said, a very simple process, like I said, that we use with children, but it's so important that we don't try and dictate what they need to them. And I've heard Mauro say listen several times during this presentation, and I think that's so important. The other thing is, I find, and I left this out from a previous question, and I'm going to tie it back into this question of what do DMOs do well, and it also goes to the articulation. I think the access to data and best case practice that, Mauro will have the conversations he's having with people like us and him attending conferences and those, he can see in a position to see what Canada's doing well, Australia's doing well, what this destination is doing well, and then being able to provide training to the partners in the DMO to say, this is what's happening. This is the state of global mobility. These are the trends of where countries' numbers are going up or countries' numbers are going down. This is how people are marketing. This is how people are managing the agent networks effectively. And I think if you're really providing a strong value add by helping people do their jobs more effectively, be better prepared and more professional, more trained, everyone likes to be good at their job. And, it's a common thing with all people. And I speak to a lot of people involved in international education that have anxiety. They don't know if what they're doing is the right strategy. They don't know if what they're doing is the right plan. And I think if the DMO and the leadership of the group can help to provide direction and confidence to their stakeholders, there'll be a lot of buy-in to support them. So I think that providing training, providing data, providing best case practice is something that really stands out. And it's something that I try and do in my work a lot with presentations and with training with our clients to say, you're doing this. This is what this school is doing, and look how effective that is. So I think articulating that and having that real professional development, thought leadership component mixed into it is very key.
Wonderful. I think that's fantastic. And I would imagine that also access to data, best practices, what's going on, but also in terms of all the feedback on the results, keeping the stakeholders also updated on, okay, we've done all of this and now where we're standing today. I think that's also, showing the different milestones is going to be key. Wonderful. Mauro, una pregunta para ti. O sea, ¿qué tipo de resultados han tenido ustedes en Study Buenos Aires que valida hoy la existencia y la sostenibilidad de una estrategia tan importante y que tiene un liderazgo tan importante en la región?
Escuchándolo a Mike también, hablando de datos, ¿no? Yo creo que el primer dato que de alguna manera consolidó a Study Buenos Aires y quizás también a que Buenos Aires tuviera una estrategia de atracción de estudiantes internacionales, yo creo que es la posibilidad de medir la cantidad de estudiantes internacionales que vienen, poder identificar su procedencia y sobre todo poder medir el impacto económico que tienen para la ciudad, la importancia que tienen en la ciudad como motor de la economía, ¿no? Pensándolo quizás más como turistas, ¿no? Y menos como estudiantes internacionales, pero yo creo que ese es un activo súper importante y sería como el primer consejo que le daría a cualquier DMO que quisiera, digamos, iniciar un camino de la atracción, ¿no? La elaboración de un proyecto similar, que pudiera reunirse con las universidades, armar un informe y medir el impacto que tienen los estudiantes internacionales que reciben esos países. Para la ciudad representaron en 2019 poco más de $300 millones, o sea, un punto y un poco más del Producto Bruto Geográfico de la ciudad. O sea, es bastante, digamos, dinero para una ciudad como Buenos Aires. Y luego está la proyección, ¿no? Internacional que una ciudad logra consolidándose como un destino para estudiar. Y ahí el crecimiento que nosotros hemos tenido en el ranking QS, por ejemplo, que es uno de los rankings que mide justamente a las ciudades para estudiar, a las mejores ciudades para estudiar. Buenos Aires el año pasado tuvo su posición, digamos, histórica, ¿no? O sea, número 22 en el mundo, por delante de destinos como Madrid y como Barcelona, o sea, posicionándose como la mejor ciudad de Iberoamérica para estudiar. Si bien nosotros nos hemos consolidado ya desde el 2016 como el mejor destino de América Latina, y un poco se debe justamente a la asistencia al estudiante internacional, la mejora de experiencia que nosotros ponemos como uno de los ejes más importantes que tenemos, que hoy seamos referentes a nivel iberoamericano, yo creo que marca un poco el crecimiento que ha tenido el programa y el posicionamiento que hemos podido darle a la ciudad de Buenos Aires.
Así es, Mauro. O sea, no se puede, digamos, tapar ese resultado. Es un resultado visible, no solamente para ustedes en la ciudad, en el país, sino en el mundo entero. Maravilloso. Y Mike, so I was asking a little bit to Mauro about, those results that they've had that validate the existence and sustainability of Study Buenos Aires. And well, they've been ranked the best study destination in, how do you say it in English? Iberoamerica? I don't know how you say it. Well, Americas, let's say. Spanish-speaking Americas.
Yeah.
And I would like to ask you, how does a DMO, or how does a university that has an international student recruitment strategy, is it a channel? Is it a tool? How do we fit it in? How does it all fit in within that strategy?
I think it all comes down to value add. I've been doing this a long time. I've spoken to a lot of different universities in a lot of different countries. I've heard many things. One thing I have never heard is I've never had someone say to me, I have too many resources. I have too much money and I have too many people. I don't know what to do with it all. No one ever says this. They don't have enough resources. They don't have enough people. Every international department that I've spoken to in my 20 years of doing this. So there is need for help. And so when we talked about before, like the added value resources of marketing materials, of organizing events, I think those are all common things that every institution needs. If they had really good graphics that they could use on their social media channel available to them in a media kit, they can put their university's logo in and have some fantastic information about the destination, they're going to use this. So I think it's the practical things of adding the value, and then people will really want it. I want to bring in one other point here that's a little bit separate from your question, but I think it's an important point to make. Marcela, the ICEF iGraduate Barometer that was done every year, the big survey that went out to thousands of agents sending hundreds of thousands of students. And they asked these agents what were the biggest concerns students had before and after arriving in a destination. So these are students going from many different countries to many other different countries. Mm-hmm. Always the top 4 concerns are affordability, safety, accommodation, and then ability to speak the language was the 4th one. But if you look at those, safety, affordability, and accommodation, just looking at those 3, those are the 3 things that families all around the world worry about when their family member is going to study somewhere else. Just think about those 3 things and how much a DMO can help to provide information about those 3 specific things, about safety, about affordability, about what the accommodation options are. So if we relate this back to what students are worrying about and what is going to help them make a decision to choose one destination over another, the ability for a DMO to help universities focus on creating content, stories, testimonials, about those type of things, and then educating institutions to know that is things that will really help impact the student decision-making process, and providing them tools. So you asked, is it tools? Is it channels? I think it's all of those things. Like, the agent channel, we organized in my company, we just organized a 3-day event in Nigeria where we had 10 Canadian institutions, and we brought in over 100 agents over the 3 days and did a training on Canada, on these schools, and on all these things. We do these regularly in different places around the world, educating people on Argentina, on Buenos Aires. These things are invaluable to develop a brand and help schools going there. So I think just clearly having that value add, it speaks for itself. And I think that was really how, when universities see, whoa, we have the ability to do this as a group, individually I have no chance, they're going to buy into that. From my experience, that's an easy sell and an easy thing for people to get people on board with.
Wonderful. And listening to you, Mike, I'm also thinking, the fact that instead of all maybe duplicating efforts and investing in similar, benchmarking, data analysis, all of this, it really allows for the institutions to focus on what they have to promote, and then the DMO, focuses on their specific activities as well, and those are leveraging everybody, whether big, small, medium, large.
And if I can add one thing, I just thought of an interesting point. I did some very specific work with one particular DMO that was having some troubles with their stakeholder engagement. And what we found out, I'll use a Canadian example because being Canadian, I think it's easy. 70-80% of international students coming to Canada are coming from India. And most of the institutions are very strong. We would say that adding resources in India, the universities in this DMO felt that we're already really strong there. We've invested our own resources, we've built our brand. By us supporting something, we're maybe just helping our competitors take our market share out of that region. But if we said, look, none of us are very active at all in, let's say, the Philippines, which is a strong market. We're going to put a shared resource there. We're going to create specific marketing material for Philippines, and we're going to organize a trade mission. The competitive nature comes out of that because I think we're not doing anything in this region. So by providing entry into new markets or new channels or new things can also be viewed very positively because they say we have nothing to lose, we have only something to gain. And I think psychologically approaching it that way sometimes can be beneficial as well.
Thank you, Mike. Bueno, Mauro, hemos tenido un panel maravilloso y realmente creo que hay muchísima claridad de ese rol de los gobiernos, tanto a nivel país, regional o de ciudad, de cómo esto potencia el posicionamiento de ese país, región o ciudad, y ese sistema educativo que hay también de turismo, de servicios y de desarrollo del propio sitio. Para cerrar, quisiera pedirle a cada uno de ustedes, ¿qué le recomiendan a América Latina? ¿Qué podemos hacer? ¿Cómo podemos aprovechar? ¿Qué oportunidades hay? ¿Y con quiénes han trabajado ustedes, Ana?
Yo creo que la primera recomendación es generar datos. O sea, necesitamos más información estadística como para tomar las mejores decisiones posibles, ¿no? El segundo sería comenzar a mirarnos más entre nosotros, pensando quizás en estos nuevos estudiantes universitarios que comienzan, ¿no? Que son quizás primera generación de estudiantes universitarios, pensar también en las escuelas terciarias, ¿no? Otras, digamos, instancias de educación superior que no solamente sean universidades, sino que también sean lo que nosotros decimos escuelas técnicas o terciarias, porque ahí hay muchas oportunidades de internacionalización. Y sobre todo oportunidades de internacionalización a personas que quizás no están tan como influenciadas en ir a hacer un posgrado o ir a hacer un intercambio a Europa o Estados Unidos, ¿no? Que quizás tienen otra mirada producto de tener otras realidades. Entonces, para mirarnos más entre nosotros, tenemos que empezar a pensar en esa otra nueva generación de estudiantes universitarios. Y quizás el tercero sería incrementar un poco más, ¿no?, la cooperación, que no solamente sea una cooperación que lleven adelante las universidades, sino que sea una cooperación que puedan llevar adelante también las ciudades, los gobiernos locales. Ahí hay muchas oportunidades. Nosotros, en lo personal, me he reunido con Ciudad de México, me he reunido con Medellín, me he reunido con Manizales. Hay muchas, digamos, iniciativas que quieren comenzar o que han visto que las universidades locales tienen justamente un poder de atracción muy grande. Entonces, es simplemente comenzar a recabar esa información para saber quiénes son estas personas que vienen, de dónde vienen, qué piensan de nosotros, agarrar a esos, ¿no?, indicadores clave o esas oportunidades que tienen los destinos y explotarlas muchísimo más. Pero yo creo que también tenemos un trabajo mucho y muy grande en mirarnos más entre nosotros, poder acercarnos oportunidades para justamente alimentar a este segundo punto, que son la nueva generación de estudiantes universitarios que bien podrían ser, digamos, atraídos dentro de la región de América Latina.
Maravilloso. Mike, a quick translation for you. But Mauro mentioned 3 key points. One is the importance of data, the added value that a DMO offers. You mentioned it several times. Also, the importance of learning, listening, observing the new generation of students, university students, what they require, what are they demanding, and how the region can offer added value to this new generation of students. And third but not least, the collaboration among cities, governments, regions, countries, and how to collaborate with the university systems or the education systems and get closer. Also, facilitating access to those, well, Mauro didn't mention it, this is like my adding here a little bit, but also helping those smaller institutions meet others like them, where they could bring so much added value. And it's not only about the big players in the system, it's about, allowing to bring alliances amongst everybody, yeah? And all the students having access also to the different offers. So tell us about what you suggest for our audience today.
You guys took my points. Those are so good. No, I agree with that 100%. And I think I'll go in a different direction a little bit on this one. And I would just go back to say, I believe the opportunity for Latin America is immense. I believe the future of global student mobility is students will look for more options and be looking for different experiences and different paths. I look at some of our major study destinations. Canada, we're basically full. We are running out of capacity to attract more international students. There's a housing crunch. There's all of these type of things. And I think the destination, wide variety, encompassing Latin America, there's just so much potential there. So seize the opportunity. Second, these things don't happen on their own. You have to be purposeful, you have to be intentful, and you have to be strategic. If you're not, forget about it. And the things that we're talking today about working as a DMO, working together, those are one really important step, but also preparing a strategic business case. I lived in Japan for 7 years. My wife is Japanese, my daughter's half Japanese. I love the country. Excellent education system. One of the biggest ways that Japan has been trying to attract international students is through scholarships. They have very, very good scholarships. But the problem is they have no mechanism for students to learn about that. Students don't know that Japan has scholarships. They don't pay agents commission. They don't have a business model where they can invest in attracting students. You have the advantage of affordability in Latin America. It is an affordable destination to live and to study. Build money into your tuition model for international students that allows in investments in strong agent commission structures, investments in joint branding activities, in joint investments in recruitment trips. Build a model for a foundation that will be successful. And like I said, I think you need to be really, really purposeful, but the opportunity is there. And I think, you know, in 10, 15 years, there's no reason why the amount of international students and their impact internationalization efforts in the destinations across Latin America couldn't greatly increase. So I'll try to leave it kind of with that motivational, go get it, guys, because I really think that that opportunity is there.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I am motivated. I think, Mauro, you're motivated too, right? So thank you so much, Mike. I really am honored to be here with both of you, to have shared all this space with our audience, all these ideas, all this knowledge and experience that both of you have. Mauro, muchas gracias a ti también. Como lo acabo de decir, es un honor para mí estar con ustedes dos, que nos hayan compartido su conocimiento, su experiencia en este tema tan importante. Nos vamos animados como con lo que nos dijo Mike. Tenemos que tomar la oportunidad, hay una gran oportunidad. Más estudiantes, tenemos muchísima riqueza cultural, educativa, turística para ofrecer al mundo, y lo que nos recomendó, tenemos que estar estructurados, enfocados y ser estratégicos, que si no, olvidémonos. Y yo creo que Study Buenos Aires es un excelente ejemplo de ese enfoque, de ese trabajo colectivo, participativo, incluyente, y que sin duda vamos a seguir siguiéndolos a ustedes, Mauro, en sus estrategias, mirando cómo también colaboran con otras ciudades, con otras regiones. Hay países como pues, Colombia inició el año pasado con Go Colombia. Vamos a ver cómo continúan. Sabemos que Learn Chile existe en Chile, no es gubernamental, pero es una estrategia importante. Y sabemos que hay otros países en la región que también están iniciando, y que queremos motivarlos a que las instituciones no se queden solas. O sea, que realmente los gobiernos se sumen a participar con todos. But thank you guys.